Welcome back to the Ashes debrief. Day 3 done and dusted here in Sydney. I've got Henry, Moeran, Bharat, Sundaresan alongside me. If you're wondering why we're all dressed in pink, it's because it's Jane McGrath Day, day 3 here of this pink Ashes test. I must say, fellas, you're looking fabulous.
Well, I feel a little underdressed, relatively speaking. But it would have been awkward if we were wearing the same sunglasses, Bharat, so I thought I'd leave mine back at the ranch.
Oh, I wish you were, actually. And I actually don't, I feel underdressed because today is the only time that I don't stand out. People have to come looking for me because everybody else is in pink. So I have some glitter on me though, just for effect.
Right, let's get into the day's play. Australia finished the day 518 for 7. That's a lead of 134. Steve Smith painfully is 129 not out, with Webster 42 not out. We're going to rewind to the start of the day. Henry, England's first session, pretty flat, wasn't it?
It was pretty flat, and though the run scoring didn't necessarily come quite as quickly as it might have done, it was all just a bit tired bodies, tired minds. You know what I mean? It just, there wasn't that sense of zip and energy that I think that England needed. It's understandable that they've had a tough old time of it, and they are down to their last reserves in terms of bowlers. Whether or not England have been getting it right in terms of when people have been bowling, new ball, old ball, that sort of thing, I think that very much remains to be seen. But you know, Travis Head scored 160. He was put down quite appallingly badly by Will Jacks.
Well, we might as well move straight on to it. Let's talk about the drop catch. We saw a horrific dismissal yesterday, Jamie Smith. I think we might have seen something just as bad today.
Look, there are a lot of flying objects in Australia. Like, you know, there are birds flying across. There's a moth that flew into our commentary box earlier. It has to be one of those because it was bad technique to start with. He went the Australian way. And then if you see the replay, which we all have a few times, he just looks away. He takes his eyes off the ball and it just popped up. And yeah, it had the makings of a team which is kind of down and out and wants to get on that flight home, and you know, that's generally when those kinds of drop catches happen. I want to find out from him someday what he saw that last second.
I do wonder, and that this could be the most ridiculous thing in the world, but with everyone in the crowd wearing various shades of pink and kind
we're
of
clutching at straws, guys.
Yeah, we are clutching, but I just did something catches up? I don't know, but it was a sort of one that, as Aggers said on commentary, he said, yeah, it's sort of one you throw your granny. It's, you know, it was
in the garden.
Oh, it was just one of those moments you just think, well, yesterday we saw something appalling, surely nothing as bad. I think, you know, we describe it as in the pantheon of rubbishness on this tour. How bad was Jamie Smith's shot? Well, that pantheon of rubbishness got another entrant, because goodness me.
There have been some instances. Yesterday, Bo Webster said he couldn't pick the ball up either at first slip, so we'll give him something. But also, going back to the granny analogy, it's also the one that you toss at your granny, and when she drops it, you give her a lot of grief as well. Maybe you drop her from your team. So I'm not saying Will Jacks should be dropped, but it was one of those moments where you felt bad for him, but you also went, come on, mate, like, you know, this is Test cricket. And then you expected Ben Stokes to throw the ball to him for redemption, and that did happen in the second ball. The first ball, Travis Head faces from him, hits it back at him. Much more difficult catch, and he puts him down again.
There's been some tactical errors throughout this series, Henry. Yesterday, people were crying for Ben Stokes to open the bowling. England burnt all their reviews today, but they used their last one in the first session of the day on Australia's night watchman. Is that a tactical error from England?
Well, it has to be, because Michael Neser is a capable player, no question about it. But when you've got Bo Webster coming in as far down as he is in this batting lineup, and the strength that Australia have, are you going to really take that risk on one that, you know, Brydon Carse really had to convince Ben Stokes that it was boot first before bat? Lo and behold, it was. England jubilant, but impact was outside the line, and so suddenly everything sort of, you just think the decision making is just so frustrating. But then I do look at Ben Stokes, and a lot of calls for him to be opening the bowling with the new ball because he's England's arguably most effective bowler. And again, England turn to Brydon Carse time and again with the new ball, somebody that has a pretty statistically poor record with the new ball. And you think, well, Ben Stokes has got to know that. England's stats guys have got to know that. But then you half expect Stokes to come out of the gates behind us driving the team bus.
I know, he can't do everything, and that's the thing, isn't it? This bloke's going to be broken by the end of this Ashes series, Bharat.
how many overs did he bowl today? And 7 overs in the first session. Then he came back and bowled another big spell in the middle session before the second new ball, which is again tactically I didn't make sense to me. And what Australia did well with the Michael Neser thing is, as a night watch, it was old school Test cricket, right? Like they needed him to bat for a long time, and he killed the game in the first 90 minutes. Got Stokes and Tongue to bowl long spells. Got England to burn 2 reviews, not just one on him. And he made life easier for the rest that came later. I just heard from a couple of players in the Australian team that they were a little unhappy about a few voices in English cricket going, oh, they were a bit, they lost their edge and they were a little low on energy on day one. That apparently has picked them up. So was that said on this show?
No, but your hair just whipped me in the face.
Oh, right, okay, sorry about that. Yeah. But so I think that's kind of got them going once again.
Okay.
That's why they want to be ruthless. They have been ruthless so far. And you feel for Ben Stokes. But I just want to say one thing about Ben Stokes and Brydon Carse. Like, that whole meme of, oh, I want someone to look at me the way this person does. Like, I want a best friend like Ben Stokes, because Brydon Carse convinced him into that review. And there was this point where he started patting Brydon Carse on the head when it showed that the ball had hit the pad. Because he really likes him. And he keeps giving him the new ball. And it doesn't work out. And I don't know whether Josh Tongue doesn't like bowling with the new ball or what. It doesn't really make sense to me, but somehow Brydon Carse does keep taking wickets, doesn't he?
He does. Well, he's got 22 now in this Ashes series. Only Jimmy Anderson has taken more. He'd taken 24 in the 2010-2011 Ashes, and the next person was back in like 1980 or something ridiculous. So even though he's bowled poorly at times, he has taken wickets, Henry.
And he stayed on the field, which is the other
5
thing.
tests he's
which
done,
is, he must be exhausted. And I think you can't overstate how exhausting as well the way he's been asked to bowl has been, because it's not, your length ball that you will bowl in county cricket time again. He's bowling, slamming it into the surface. He's having to really bend that back in again.
Poor bloke.
And it's horrible to watch. It is gruesome viewing, but physically demanding as well. I do think that in all of this, though, we can't ignore the genius of Travis Head and Steve Smith today, because flat pitch maybe tired bowlers, but they're brilliant.
Of course, Australia looked like they were in total control from ball 1 today, Bharat. And actually, when you were watching the game, it was a frustrating watch for an England fan. I want to know how it was from an Australian perspective, because Australia were actually not in total control. They just seemed like they were.
Yeah, and I still think that this pitch has a lot in it, the dents and divots and all of that. And every time England pitched the ball in those areas, it was still doing something, especially with the second new ball. But it's just Travis Head, and he's just become probably the most impactful batter in Test cricket. Like, he might not be in the top 5 or top 10 rankings. I don't think it matters to him the way he bats. I just asked him now in the press conference, I said, do you care about getting to 200? And he's not. He's just an instinctive player. I mean, one day he will get there, but he's still got 7 scores over 150 and between 150 and 175. And he, on day 1 in the first Test, he gave Australia the advantage. In the third Test, he sealed the series, and he's come now to really hit that final lane in England's coffin. And he was unstoppable. You knew that he had to make a mistake to get out. And then in walked Steve Smith. And today was Steve Smith, the great Test batter, but it was also Steve Smith, the performer.
Well,
some days he just walks out and...
Simon Mann said about 6 hours ago, there is no more guarantees, or nothing more guaranteed in life than Steve Smith scoring 100 today. That was just on.
It was so clearly going to, as sure as the sun is going to rise over Sydney Harbour Bridge tomorrow, it was the most obvious thing. He just looked in control. It was one of those where, we saw it in the 2019 Ashes where he was quite brilliant, 17-18 in Australia as well. And sometimes he is peerless in terms of how he's also remarkable to watch, as always.
It's painful though
these
to watch,
leaves
isn't it?
and he did a roly-poly at one point, but even the last ball of the day, he was sprinting to get that second run. And again, these are minds and bodies that'll be tired, but there is just this sense that Australia seem to be able to have this greater power of concentration. I've got a theory about it though, and that is Australia as a nation has learnt to be more patient. Okay?
Simon Mann was saying this on air yesterday.
Well, he started it with traffic lights because in Australia it's very strict. You have to wait at traffic lights. You can't cross until it goes pew, and you can walk. Otherwise, you get in quite a lot of trouble. In Britain, people do just walk across the road, rightly or wrongly. Add to that, As well, bigger distances, things take longer to go anywhere. Films and music historically always used to take longer to reach Australia. If you get a urgent delivery, that's 2 or 3 days, not immediately the day after you are. We're taught to be impatient in Britain. In Australia, patience is something that is ingrained in everything they do. And I think there's something in this, Baz.
More than traffic lights, roundabouts. Like, whenever I've gone to England now and driven, nobody waits for you. Like, the whole rule of when someone's coming from the right, you wait. In Australia, if you do that, they'll honk at you. They'll be like, oh, how dare you do that? And I think there is a lot of that involved as well. Like you said, to go from one city to another city. You cannot just listen to one episode of a podcast. If you listen to the entire series. And I think it does develop patience and a hardy yakka as well. But
how have we got onto this?
I am being slightly facetious, but I would say there has been a sort of marked difference in the fact that Australia are taking more catches. They appear to be bowling those spells in a way that has more consistency, batting with more patience.
They are taking more catches. England dropped 18 in the series against India. They've dropped 17 in this Ashes series. They are dropping catches.
They are. And just go back to that catch that Zach Crawley dropped. It was difficult, but it was low to his left. Manas Labuschagne took 2 catches like that in Adelaide. Steve Smith took 1 catch like that at the Gabba. So what Australia have done is they've created chances or created moments and then seized them. England have done neither or in the field, because they created those catches out of nowhere and turned the game. They did it at the Gabba, they did it at Adelaide, and that was a moment. If Zach Crawley somehow takes that catch, we've spoken a lot about the Jack's catch, the whole game changes, and England just haven't been good enough. Maybe, I don't know whether they've not been switched on enough, or maybe it's time for them to go. And then when you do that with Steve Smith, and he's not got 100 so far in this series. He wasn't great batting Nick coming in, and Joe Root made 100. He had to make 100.
Well, Steve Smith with his 100 today is now second in Ashes centuries, only behind the great Don Bradman. So he's going to get a century at some point in this Ashes series. He's got it today. Right, now it's your turn to get involved. Don't forget you can vote for your combined team of the tournament on the website. We spoke about that yesterday, so go and watch yesterday's episode if you don't know what I'm talking about, because I'm not going to do it again. And tonight's Ask Me Anything, scan the QR code on your screen now. Gab in Peebles, I've never heard of Peebles, in Scotland apparently, has asked which young players will be involved in the next Ashes series. Now, I want to point out the next Ashes series is only 18 months away.
Right, there's a young Lancashire fast bowler who I'm aware of. He's just breaking through the ranks. He's quite quick, bowls a very consistent line of length. He's called Jimmy Anderson. No, I'm actually not sure we're going to see huge changes, because it's not that long away. I think you make a really good point. I think Australia's core group have still got plenty of miles in their legs. I mean, we've seen Mitchell Stark has looked as fit as ever during this series. Pat Cummins, you'd imagine, will have sorted things out at that point. Steve Smith will be desperate to win an Ashes series in Australia. Let's not forget, Australia haven't won an Ashes in England since 2001, so that big clutch of players will all be desperate to find a way of doing that. From England's point of view, well, there's possibly a few more questions. It's a lot dependent on who the coach is.
Baz, anything from you?
Fair enough. Oh no, I think I will name 2 Australian players, and you're right, the 18 months, the young will stay young, the old will stay old, so we can't change that in just 18 months. But look, 2 guys, Callum Vidler, fast bowler from Queensland, was super impressive in the Sheffield Shield final, bowls at 150, got great control, and I think he is the future of Australian fast bowling. Another kid is Campbell Kellaway. He plays for Victoria. He started opening now, and he's put together a really good season. He might play Test cricket before then as well. So 2 to watch out for.
And if we're going to fast forward to the next series down under Henry, Baz, who are we looking at, do you think, in the ranks?
Cooper Connolly is someone that Australia really keen on across formats. He's a very good player. England like Carson as an option with the ball as well. There's a fair bit of talk about whether or not, we are going to see the likes of Shoaib Bashir getting another opportunity, so whether they are going to make big changes.
Are we going to see someone like Josh Hull with his height, with his pace? Is that
possibly? But interestingly, with Josh Hull, though he's massively tall, and people always talk about his high ceiling, which always makes me laugh, because you think, well, obviously he's 6'8", he's going to need one. But apparently his release point is actually lower than quite a lot of much smaller bowlers. So yeah, Josh Hill's another name that you'd look at possibly as an option.
Henry, Baz, thank you so much. Guys, that's it for the Ashes debrief. Who knows how many of these we've got left? Some of you will be saying, thank God. Some of you will be gutted that we're going away. Day 3 over. There should be 2 more days left of this Ashes series. Don't forget, as always, the highlights are on the iPlayer from 5 PM. And we'll be back tomorrow with a result or without a result. We'll see. See you later.